Good morning, everyone. Welcome to MedResults Network's educational webinar series. I'm Hillary Jarvie, MedResults Network's Director of Membership. I will be in for our COO, Jamie Parrott. This is our final webinar of 2016. We'll be starting our series back up in January. If you guys have any ideas of what topics you are interested in for next year, please email us at info@medresultsnetwork.com. If you have missed last week's webinar with our CEO, Jeff Rutledge, you can visit our website to access previous webinars. Today, we've invited Michelle Herlock, National Account Executive and Trainer at Demandforce, to present why your reputation matters and best practices for reputation management. I want to remind you that there will be a 30-second survey that will pop up with a few questions when the presentation is over. With that said, we want to wish you happy holidays from MedResults Network, and I'd like to introduce our special guest, Michelle Herlock.
Awesome. Thank you, Hillary. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm excited to go through this webinar with you guys. I'm sure you guys go through a lot of webinars throughout the year, so I appreciate you guys hopping on this one. We do have a short 30 minutes together. Does a lot of things to help practices to help grow. One of the biggest ways that we add value to the practices that we work with is around online reputation. So that's going to be the main focus for today. I have a lot to get through, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Just so you guys know, I'm going to be stopping in between about 3 of our sections to ask if anybody has any questions. So as you guys hear me start to speak about this topic, please jot down any questions that you have and you can chat in to ask those questions. Overall, at the end of this 30 minutes, I really would just like you guys to be able to take away even 1 to 2 nuggets that you can bring back to the practice, bring back to your business, and be able to implement to help you guys moving forward. Today's webinar is going to be about why your online reputation matters and really how to supercharge your online reputation. 3 main buckets that we're going to talk about today and what we're going to cover. 1, why your online reputation is so important. 2, the principles of online reputation management, and we'll give you a couple of tips and tricks on how you can make sure that you're continuing to manage your reputation moving forward. And 3, how you can achieve a good online reputation and in turn grow the practice. First, why your online reputation is so important. So before we dive in here, I think it's really important to note that a lot of you guys are in practice and are running a business and are very successful at that. Really the point here is educating you on how consumers nowadays are finding businesses, are figuring out what practice, what dentist they want to visit, and really just making sure that you guys have a really great handle on all the good work and all the good service that you guys are doing in-house, and just making sure that's accurately reflected online. So why should you care about your online reputation? First thing that I just want to point out here, and I'm sure all of you are very aware of this when you look out in the patient waiting room and you can see all your patients waiting for their service or their appointment, everybody has their head buried in their cell phones nowadays. I don't think that's news to anybody. And what this means for your practice is that this is the way that consumers now are searching for businesses. This is the way that they're talking to friends. And so the big takeaway with this webinar is to note that word of mouth is always going to be your the best way that you're going to get new patients in the door. Word of mouth is now online, and we call it word of mouth 2.0. So that's a lot of what this webinar is going to cover. 3 billion internet users nowadays. That's growing at a rate of 9% per year. What that means for your practice is this is a lot of potential patients that are looking up practices in the area online. And so we want to make sure that when they're looking up these practices, looking up your practice, it's really easy for them to decide to visit you over maybe a competitor down the street. This being said, over 77% of searches for businesses, including dental practices and dentists, begin online. This is talking about first impression, right? And this is can be common sense to a lot of people. You meet somebody for the first time, that first interaction is really telling for you moving forward of how that relationship unfolds. The same thing happens with your practice. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Online reputation, talking about reviews and the way in which your business is reflected online, has a lot to do with how patients are going to make the decision and also how much they're going to trust that business, okay? There's a couple different stats in here. The one that I really want to point out is that 70% of respondents in a recent poll said they look at up to 10 reviews online before making a decision as to what practice they want to go to, and they trust an office with a minimum of 6 to 10 reviews online. We'll talk a little bit later about how we can make sure that you guys have those reviews online, but a really important stat to keep note of. Moving forward, I talk to practices and small business owners all day, every day. I've been doing this for many years, and the number one question that I get from doctors and from business owners is, well, what about if we get a bad review, right? What happens with the bad reviews? And the question I always ask back, and I would challenge you to think about, is what are you currently doing if you get a bad review? Okay, so poor online reputation can damage your practice. I don't think that's news to anyone. So what's important here is trust with your patients and making sure that whatever is online is going to help them make the right decision. And the same thing goes for you as consumers, right? If you're looking for a new restaurant to go to or a movie theater to go catch a flick, you're probably not going to go to the movie theater that has a 2-star rating, right? Same thing, you're not going to go to a restaurant with your family that either doesn't have any reviews or has bad reviews online. The last piece of this slide I think is probably the most important, and this is talking about the way in which people are actually trusting businesses now and what they're looking for. Ads and billboards and newspapers and radio and some of these more old-fashioned ways that we've marketed to patients in previous years is slowly closing in, is slowly becoming less and less effective, and really peer recommendations in the form of reviews and referrals is becoming more and more of a way that people are looking for practices online. A good online reputation can provide a lot of benefits. A lot of people think, well, you know, reviews are just so you can get new patients in the door, which is not false, but there are a couple other benefits to having reviews online and having a great online reputation. Lost patients, right? This is something that as business owners, I'm sure you've all faced, right? That person comes in once or twice and then falls off the face of the earth. It can take maybe just this patient hopping back online to figure out a new practice to go to, see how many great reviews you have now, and make the decision to come back and give you a second shot, right? Same thing with keeping your current patients. They continue to see all these great reviews you have online. They're going to continue to come to you instead of switching over to a different doctor, and then attracting new patients. We already know this. This is a really big chunk of what online reviews can do to help the business. Online reviews are becoming trustworthy indicators for patients. So in recent years, this has become even more important. Reviews really became big, I would say 5, 6, 7 years ago. In today's world, this is really just the way that people are deciding what business that they want to go to and where they want to spend their money. Patients are more willing to search online for dentists and doctors and are increasingly turning to online rating sites when making healthcare choices. They want to make sure they're in the right hands. Okay, so this being said, we know that 52% of online users say online reviews make them more likely to use a business. So because you know that, it's important to make sure, again, that the reviews you have online for your practice accurately reflect the good work that you're already doing. Okay. Last piece on this section, 5 key facts about your online reputation that and this is dentist, everyone, keep in mind this has to do with doctors and just your practice in general. There's 2 that I really want to highlight here. The internet has created a new level of educated patient, more savvy about their healthcare options and how they research finding a doctor for themselves and their families. This being said, we know that, your practice may be one of the best in the county, best in the city, best in the area, but because patients now are making themselves more educated online, we want to make sure that all of that is accurately reflected online as well. And the last one here is also really important. 60% of patients need to read 4 or more reviews before forming an opinion, but the average dentist or doctor ratio is only about 2.4 reviews. The reason I bring this up is there's some of you who are on this call who may have tons and tons and tons of reviews. Some of you may even use Demandforce, and that's awesome. But I know there are also a number of you that may not have any reviews at all. And that's okay. That's exactly why you're on this webinar. It's important to note, though, whether you check reviews or whether you write reviews yourselves, this is what consumers are doing, and they want to see at least 4 reviews so they can make a really sound decision on what doctor to go see. So we're going to stop here at the end of the first section. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and chat them in, and Hillary, you can go ahead and field those for me. And I'll give it just about another 30 seconds or so.
Okay, I don't see any questions at this time, so let's go ahead and skip ahead.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, second thing we're going to talk about, this section is pretty quick to the point, the principles of online reputation management. So when we're talking about managing your online reputation, this can mean a number of different things. Your reputation in general and your brand is really your most prized possession when you're talking about your practice and your business. And so when we're talking about the management of your reputation, this isn't just talking about, things like responding to reviews online, but also just making sure that all of the processes that you have in place at your practice are making it really easy for people to say really great things about you, and in turn, essentially help you grow your business organically by writing reviews, by saying great things about how tight your processes are with confirmations, and sending out email campaigns and keeping them educated. So we're going to talk about this a little bit more in detail. This is, again, one of those nuggets that if you take nothing else away from this webinar, this is the most important thing I would say to take back to your practice is reputation management is a marathon, not a sprint, right? I talk to doctors and office managers who say, well, okay, so what do we do to get, all these reviews online overnight or within a week, right? And it's not to say it's impossible, but this is an organic process. And if you've already started at your practice to ask patients for reviews, or you have some system in place where you're doing that, keep in mind this is a marathon, not a sprint. And it's okay to have a couple of reviews trickle in every week, and over time that's going to really build up. In terms of 2016 and now almost going into 2017, I really want to talk about this last piece here. Any successful marketing strategy must focus on creating engaging content, communicating with patients, and asking for help generating positive online reviews from prior and current patients. One of the struggles that I know a lot of practices have had is saying, hey, somebody leaves the practice, or we're checking them out of the system, and we say, hey, would you mind hopping online and writing us a great review if you had a good experience? And what happens? 9 times out of 10, it never happens, right? It's out of sight, out of mind. As soon as your patient walks out of the doors, they're hopping on their phone, hopping in the car, headed to dinner. It's not to say they didn't have a great experience, but they're busy, just like you guys are. So really coming up with an effective way to ask the right type of patient and when to ask them for those reviews online. Owning and managing your online presence. I'm not going to go through every single piece of this, but I do want to talk about 2 of these things. Google sees 3.5 billion searches per day. I'm sure all of you are very familiar with the search engine Google. The fact that this is happening, something you want to start to think about is how many patients do you think are searching for your practice on a daily basis, and what is it that they see when they search you online? Okay. Owning and managing your online reputation can be done in a number of different ways. Social media. And again, I understand that some of you on this call may not be on Facebook, may not be on Instagram, right? All those social media outlets now, but your patients are, and your potential new patients are. So making sure that when you're posting or educating your patients and letting them know why, that you're the best doctor to go to, also letting them know why. Monitoring and managing online reviews. I would encourage all of you, if you don't, again, already have a process in place, to figure something out maybe on a weekly basis, or maybe even on a daily basis if you can get away with it, to have somebody look up your business online, all these different places where reviews might live, and just making sure that you know what people are saying about you online. Utilizing email marketing. So disclaimer, we're going to do another webinar with everyone probably in a few months, and we're going to talk more about the power of email marketing and how you can utilize email marketing to also help with your online reputation. Lastly, here in this section, providing your patients with a personalized experience. I would say the biggest pushback I've gotten when I'm on the phone with a doctor or a practice or a small business in talking about some of the things that Demandforce does in terms of automating communication and alleviating some of the front-end tasks for the front desk is, well, we don't want to get rid of the personal touch, right? And that's a very, very valid concern. And the answer to that is we don't want you to get rid of that either. Right? In a world where people are online and, you know, they're getting all these emails and everything's automated and becoming more automated, that personal touch is what's going to keep your business thriving. So a couple things to consider. When you're sending out communications to your patients, such as asking them to write you reviews, the most important thing you can do is make sure that that's still a personal message and that you're not just blasting something like that out. If I haven't been into your practice in 2 years and I get an email asking for a review, might be a little weird, right? The other thing is doctors who can figure out how to focus on quality care will see their patient base grow organically as more happy patients refer others to the office, right? Think about this life cycle. You provide great service, great quality care. In turn, that person had an awesome experience and has no problem hopping online and writing you a review. Jane Doe, who's new to the area, Google's the best practice to go to in San Francisco, let's just say, finds all your great reviews and comes in on her own. This is the way that this life cycle works as long as you're providing the great quality care. Cool. So I actually, I'm going to go back before we go to the last section here, and I'll go ahead and open it up if anybody has any questions so far. If not a big deal. You can ask them at the end, but I'll give you guys about 45 seconds here to chat into to Hillary.
Okay, so I did receive a couple from the last slides, and the questions were, what should be done if the practice gets a bad review, and then adding to that, how do you correct a bad review?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question I would ask right back, right, before I answer that is, what are you currently doing to manage a bad review? And if the answer is nothing, we'll talk about how we can do that. If you're already responding to these reviews, you're on the right track. So 2 things. Yelp and Google primarily, because those are the main hubs where people are looking for reviews. There's a way through each of those that you as the business can actually respond to a review. And if you don't know how to do that, you can, you're going to get my contact information after the call. I'm happy to show you how you can do that and claim your page. The second thing is, those of you using Demandforce know that anytime you get a review, we make it very simple in the morning for you to be able to respond to that review right away. And anywhere that review goes out online, that response will also follow that review. And then the second piece, what was the second part of that question, Hillary?
It was how to correct the bad review?
Yep. So keep in mind, and especially, and I can really only speak to Demandforce. I don't work for Yelp, nor do I work for Google, so those are their own animals when it comes to reviews. When it comes to getting reviews through Demandforce organically, we're only asking patients for reviews that just recently came into your practice, and so we know it's accredited review. There's obviously times where, let's say somebody hopped on there and wrote a completely false review or used profanity or something along those lines. We know that as a company that's not a true review, and so we do take those down for our customers. But all in all, the reality is that you're going to be getting, if you're doing good quality care, you're going to be getting a ton of great online reviews. And for those times where, let's say somebody had a 30-minute wait time, or maybe they didn't have the greatest experience, that's why, because that review is still true and honest, you don't want to be able to take that down. People need to be able to see what's going on. But the fact that now you're going to take the time to reply to that review, any new potential patient that sees that and sees the fact that the doctor took 30 seconds to respond to that review, it's going to go a lot further than just having a few not so favorable reviews online. Great question.
Okay, I think that's it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Hillary. So I only have about 9 more minutes with you guys, so I'm going to go through this as quickly as I possibly can. Third section here is really the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about. So how do you supercharge your online reputation and in turn grow your practice? Now, we did have a poll set up. We had some technical difficulties earlier when setting this up, so we're not going to actually let you take the poll. But what I would encourage you all to do is think about the last time you Googled your practice. No cheating, those of you with your smartphone in your hand that's Googling your practice right now. I really want you to think about the last time you did this. Okay, and I would encourage those of you who are looking at this thinking, oh man, it's been within the last year, it's been a long time. This would be a really great time for moving forward, you to start looking up your practice more often and just making sure that you're managing that online. Okay, some quick reputation wins, just some really quick tips, again, that's going to help you guys to do this. A, we just talked about this. Respond immediately to any feedback or review posted online. Right? Now, that's not to say that if you've been in business for 20 years, you go back through every single review that you've ever gotten from 10 years ago and start replying to them. I would say moving forward, just making sure that you're very cognizant of the reviews you have on the web and making sure that you're doing a great job of responding to those and reaching out to any patients that you might need to. Utilize email marketing. Again, we'll delve deeper into this in the next webinar with elevating your email marketing efforts, but utilize the power of the data that you have in your management software and the data that you have in the office, and this is going to help you to boost your online reputation and ask for feedback if you're able to non-invasively ask your patients through the way that they prefer to communicate, which is through email. Make sure you own your Google and your Yelp pages. Again, for some of you, you may be sitting here shaking your head thinking, of course we've claimed our pages. You'd be surprised the number of practices that I still see that have not claimed these pages. Again, if you don't know what I mean by that, feel free to ask me at the end of this. But if you go to your Google page, you go to your Yelp page, it'll ask you, have you claimed your page yet? And just make sure that you go through that process to do so. The reason for that is this helps with searchability online and helps you become more relevant so people can leave you reviews. And last but not least, ask for reviews. I know it seems like a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised. If you don't ask, people may not know to do it. Ask and you shall receive, right? And again, this is where Demandforce can really help out, is being able to put that bug in the patient's ear saying, hey, you're going to get a message after your visit. We'd love some feedback, and sort of prepping them for being able to leave you some feedback on that. Take control of your online reputation. So again, 3 ingredients for successful reputation management. Effectively leveraging these 3 features of Demandforce specifically is going to help you guys with your online presence. So getting those reviews out online, not just to Yelp or not just to Google, but to even more places so that no matter where somebody's looking for a business online, it's easy for them to choose you. Custom and personalized email campaigns. And then the last bucket is automated appointment reminders and confirmations, and making that more effective in communicating with your patients. Before you start trying to figure out this chart, because trust me, the first time I looked at it, it took me a little while to figure out. So bottom line here is the power of online reviews. Every year, the statistics here in whether or not people are reading reviews online to determine whether or not a business is a good business. The bottom line here is that as the years go on, there are more and more people that are looking for reviews regularly to determine whether or not a business is a good one. How these online reviews are actually going to boost your reputation. Again, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through all of this. Bottom line is that the more positive online reviews you have across the web, the more new patients you are going to attract that want to come into your business as well. Cool. So that is the end of the education piece. Some of this is going to be now more educational on how Demandforce can help leverage some of these things. If I have a few of you sitting there thinking, well, this is all great, Michelle. We know we need more reviews now. How do we get them? I'll go through a couple of these slides and how this makes sense when you're using a tool like Demandforce. So first thing is that Demandforce has been around for almost 14 years, and so we have working relationships with the major search engines online. And so that's how it's really easy for us to be able to push these organic reviews to some of these top search engines, making it easier for people to see all the reviews online. For Google and Yelp, because somebody has to physically go on to Google or Yelp to write you or organic review, Demandforce has one-click email campaigns that we can set up for you. So for those of you that are already customers of ours and you haven't done this yet, please reach out to me at the end of this, and I can go through an optimization call and set this up for you. This is really just asking your cheerleaders and your advocates in your patient database to hop online and write you a quick review. Email campaigns, again, we'll delve more into this in a few months here. The biggest thing I would say is if you are on this call and you don't yet have a strategy moving forward into 2017 for how to communicate with your patients through text and email, I would highly encourage you to at least take a look at how other practices are utilizing this in your area. This is the way that consumers are now communicating, and this is also the way that it's going to boost your online reputation in a much more effective way. A couple things about emails. We all get bombarded with emails on a daily basis, and there's some that we look at and some we just throw in the trash and delete. It's not about sending more emails to your patient base, but about sending smarter emails. So a couple of things, battling opt-outs. It's important to send smarter emails so that people aren't just unsubscribing from your emails. Automating your emails. This is just going to help you to be able to build segmented lists to specific patients based on patient demographic, so that you're getting these campaigns out more quickly, but also to make them relevant. And then the personalization. We already talked about this, but I can't stress this enough. For example, if you're going to send out an email blast, I know that with some systems, you can't necessarily personalize that with their name. This is something that Demandforce can do, and it's just going to make it a little bit easier for your patient to feel appreciated, that you're sending a personal message to them. Effective email campaigns. The big thing that I want to point out here, whether you use Demandforce or not, the majority of small businesses are actually generating more than half of their annual revenue from repeat patients. So this is talking a little bit more about recall, and we know that recall can also tie in with online reviews. If somebody's thinking about maybe going to another practice and they see that you guys have great reviews online and helping with patient recall, the couple of things to keep in mind here is timing is everything, right? Obviously, you want to make sure that if somebody is supposed to be coming in for routine work, a recommended service, that we're sending out a message to them in the correct time frame. And creating newsletters. So this is really just allowing your clients to stay top of mind, keeping them engaged. You don't have to offer promotions or discounts or anything like that, but a lot of times it's just educating your patients on why they should come back into the practice for a specific reason. Appointments, this is another piece of what Demandforce does. If you already have some form of online booking, that's awesome. That's a great way to get new patients. The reality is that by 2019, and what research is showing, is that actually 64% of patients are going to be scheduling their appointments digitally. 80% of appointment volume will be self-scheduled, so you have to make it easy for consumers, now that they've seen all your great reviews online, to right away with a click of a button be able to get in touch with you and request an appointment to come into your practice as well. Demandforce helps with this as well. We tie in to different places online, allowing people to schedule appointments, places like your website, Facebook, and Yelp. And this is, again, just effective for the consumer and making it easy for them once they've made the buying decision that they want to come see you over another practice, allowing them, even if it's 11 o'clock at night, to be able to schedule an appointment instead of having to pick up the phone. And I'll end here really with Demandforce and the key benefits. The three main hubs that we help focus on with your practice is helping you to attract new patients through things like referrals and reviews, keeping patients coming back by recall through text, email, and voice, and making sure that we're keeping clients top of mind, and saving time, so just alleviating some of that front desk pressure of making phone calls and leaving voicemails. And we will finish, actually, with these last slides. So with MedResults and our relationship, we want to make it really easy for those of you that are interested in a way to communicate with your patients through email and text and get more reviews online. To get set up and started with Demandforce, you pay a $0 activation fee, which there typically is a fee to get started with Demandforce, and actually 1 free month to actually be able to use Demandforce, see if it's a good fit for your practice. If you want more information on this, I know this slide's a little wonky there at the bottom. You can go to that link if you want to go ahead and write that down, and there's also a phone number if you'd like to get a free demo consultation to take a look at how Demandforce can impact your business. So that being said, we're right on time here at 11:30. Thank you guys so much for attending. I'll open it up for any last-minute questions that you may have, and Hillary, if you want to wrap it up, that'd be great.
Okay, we have a couple of questions. One was, how does Demandforce compare to Healthgrades? And then the other one is, should we be responding to both positive and negative reviews?
Yep, that's a great question. So I'm going to go with the second one. The Healthgrades question, it's really going to depend on how you're utilizing that. So that's going to be on a person-by-person basis in terms of your practice. So I would encourage you to shoot me an email and we can set up a call afterwards so I can speak to you about that. In terms of responding to negative and positive reviews, I have some clients who respond to every single review that they get, whether it be a 5-star review or a 1-star, simply because that's what they put their priorities in. I would encourage you definitely to reply to any negative reviews. If you're not going to reply to all the positive ones, that's okay. If you have the time to do it, great, but I would definitely make sure that within a day or two, you're responding to any negative reviews that you might get. And you always want to finish responding to a negative review with something like, we really pride ourselves in the great work that we do here at the office, and we want to make sure that moving forward, this is an exceptional experience for everyone. We'd love to be able to win back your business the old-fashioned way. Please get in touch with us via email or give us a call so we can make this right. That would be the way that I would encourage you to respond.
Okay, perfect. I guess that wraps up for today. So if you were not able to join us on this webinar, we are doing it again at 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and we will see you next year. Thank you, Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you, Hillary.